Have you ever, like, been in one of those disagreements, where you just can't understand how the other person just doesn't get it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, are we even looking at the same thing?
Right.
Well, get ready, because today's deep dive is all about wisdom-like,
Right.
what it actually is, and how it's different from just being intelligent.
And we hear those two words used as if they're the same all the time, but they're really not.
Not even close.
And understanding the difference can make a huge difference in how we see the world and the people in it.
Totally. Which is why this book, The Wisest One in the Room, totally blew my mind.
Oh, yeah, but Gilovich and Ross?
Those guys, they're brilliant. They basically say that wisdom isn't just about, like, knowing a bunch of facts. It's about understanding, like, yourself, other people, and your place in it all.
It's about recognizing that objectivity, well, it might be a bit of an illusion.
Okay, wait, now hold on. Objectivity being an illusion.
Yeah.
Break that down for me.
Well, we all see the world through these lenses, right? And those lenses, they're shaped by our experiences, our upbringing, what we value, all that stuff.
So someone who grew up in a small town, their lens is going to be different than someone from a big city.
Exactly. And neither is wrong, but their lenses color how they see everything, even the exact same event.
Wait, so you're saying you could show two people the same thing and they'd see it differently because of this lens?
Totally. They did a study, showed people the same footage of a protest. Those who already agreed with the protesters saw them as the victims. Those who didn't saw them as the aggressors.
Wow. That's kind of scary. I mean, if we can't even agree on what we're seeing, how can we even talk about it?
That's where naive realism comes in.
Naive what now?
Naive realism. It's this thing where we all think our view is the reality, like our lens is the only accurate one.
I can see how we'd fall into that trap.
But once you realize everyone's got their own lens, you can approach those disagreements differently with, like, more empathy.
Instead of just thinking someone's being difficult on purpose.
Right. It's like, okay, what experiences have shaped your lens to make you see it that way?
It's funny, but that whole seeing what we want to see thing, it's not just like our big beliefs either, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I was reading about this study about music. It said people could listen to all kinds of songs, but they only really remember the ones they already liked.
No way. So our brains are filtering for confirmation even with music.
It seems like it. Makes you wonder if we're destined to be stuck in our own little echo chambers.
Well, just knowing about it helps. But to actually break free, we've got to actively look for different perspectives, especially the ones that make us a little uncomfortable.
So like exercising a muscle, but for our minds.
Exactly. The more we use those wisdom muscles, the stronger they get.
Okay, I like that. So we've got these lenses, and we're creating meaning all the time. Not just seeing the world, but like deciding what it means. That's kind of a lot to take in.
It is. And that takes us to the second really important part of wisdom. We are constantly creating meaning. Yeah. It's not just what we see, it's what we make it mean.
Right. And sometimes that's a good thing, right? Like if you're trying to stay positive, you can reframe things.
Totally. But sometimes it trips us up. We get stuck in these negative stories about ourselves, or we totally misinterpret what someone's saying.
Yes. Been there.
Yeah.
So how do we get better at this whole meaning-making thing? Like, how do we choose better stories?
Well, one of the most powerful tools we have is actually language. The words we use, they make a huge difference.
It's like that whole sticks and stones thing, but words actually hurt or help.
Exactly. They did this study, remember the prisoner's dilemma? Classic game theory stuff.
Vaguely.
Remind me.
Okay, so they had people play, but they called it the community game one time and the Wall Street game the other.
Wait, seriously? They just changed the name?
Yep. Same exact rules. But when it was the community game, people were way more likely to cooperate, help each other out.
No way, just the name made them act differently. It's wild, right? Shows you the power of framing. Think about it. Would you rather work with, like, the Defense Department?
Okay, point taken, I get it.
Right. Same thing, basically, but one sounds way more intense, like, we're about to go to war.
Speaking of which, it's like that story about the stonecutters, right?
Yes.
One's just breaking rocks, one's earning a living, one's building a cathedral, all doing the same work, but the meaning is totally different.
And that changes everything. Motivation, how you feel about the work, even if you stick with it.
So a wise person, they get that they have this power. They're not just reacting to the world, they're shaping how they see it.
And how they talk about it, which shapes how others see it, too.
True, but it's not just the stories in our heads, right? There's also, like, the real-life situations we're in.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a whole other layer of this whole wisdom thing.
Because it's easy to think, oh, that person's just mean or they're lazy, and think it's all about their personality.
Totally. But the situation, the context, it matters way more than we realize.
So you're saying, like, even a good person could end up doing something bad if they're under enough pressure or in the wrong environment.
Exactly. It's like that Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, right. With the
Okay.
students pretending to be guards and prisoners.
And how quickly they all got caught up in those roles, even though they knew it was fake.
Yeah, the guards got power hungry and mean. The prisoners became totally passive.
It makes you think, right? Like, what would I do in that situation? We like to think we know ourselves, but...
Right, but we're all shaped by our surroundings in ways we don't even realize.
And that's why judging people is so tough. We never know the whole story of what's going on with them.
So true. But it also makes you think about, like, how we design things. If we know context is so powerful.
Oh, 100%. That's where nudges come in.
Nudges, like little pushes in the right direction.
Kind of. It's
Yeah.
about making the good choices easier, but without taking away people's freedom.
Give me an example.
Like in grocery stores. Ever notice how they put the healthy stuff right at eye level?
And the candy at the checkout where you can't resist?
Exactly. That's a nudge. They're not forcing you, but they're making it more likely you'll grab a banana instead of a Snickers.
It's like you're setting yourself up to make the better choice without even thinking about it.
Yeah. And it works for way more than just groceries. Think about it, like setting reminders to actually drink enough water.
Oh, yeah. Or like having a dedicated workspace. You're not trying to work from your couch and getting distracted every 5 seconds.
Exactly. It's all about using our understanding of how powerful context is to like actually help ourselves make better choices.
It's like we're kind of tricking our own brains, right?
In a way, yeah. But it's not really about tricking ourselves. It's more like we're working with our brains instead of against them. And that leads us to the last big piece of wisdom we're going to talk about today, which is, are you ready for this? Sometimes we don't act because we believe something, but we believe something because we act.
Okay, now that one sounds a little out there. How does that work in real life?
Have you ever noticed how, like, if you're feeling kind of down, but you force yourself to smile for a minute or two? Yeah.
Like you might actually start feeling a little bit better.
Totally. It's like my brain gets the message and is like, oh, we're smiling. Things must not be so bad then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your body's sending signals to your brain, not the other way around.
Wild.
It is. And they've done research on this. There was this one study where they had people do this task, and they had to rate how much they enjoyed it. But here's the thing. Some of them were told to, like, push their hand away from the task while they were doing it, and others were told to pull their hand toward it. What do you think happened?
I'm going to guess that the people who were pushing away ended up not liking it as much.
You got it. It was the same task, but just that action of pushing away made their brains be like, nope, we don't like this.
So you're saying even if we don't consciously realize it, our actions can actually change how we feel about stuff.
Totally. And that's why this last piece is so important. It means that we don't have to wait until we feel differently to act differently. Sometimes we've got to act first. So like if you want to be more confident, you don't wait until you feel confident. You start acting confident.
Yes, exactly. Or if you want to be more social and outgoing, you don't wait until you're the life of the party to talk to people. You start by just saying hi more. The more we act the way we want to be, the more our brain starts to catch on.
Fake it till you make it, but for real life.
Right. But it's not really about faking it. It's about knowing how powerful our actions can be.
This has been amazing.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, can we do like a super quick recap of all the wisdom we've talked about today so our listeners can really let it sink in?
For sure. So we started with objectivity, kind of an illusion, because we all see things through our own lens. Then it was all about how we're meaning-making machines. We're not just seeing the world, we're deciding what it means.
And how we can use our words to change that meaning too.
Absolutely. Then we got real about how much context matters. Like, we might think it's just about personality, but the situation someone's in can change everything.
Which means we should all cut each other a little more slack because we never know the whole story.
100%. And lastly, that mind-blowing idea that sometimes we've got to act our way into a new way of thinking, even if it feels a little weird at first.
This has honestly changed how I see things. Thank you so much for this deep dive.
This was so fun.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us. We hope this deep dive has given you lots to think about. Until next time, keep those wisdom muscles working, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.